Hello, everyone. Oh, shit, that's bright. Ooh. Hello, everyone. My name is Jim Wendler, author and creator of 531, and welcome to Friday with Wendler. We get to do the prowler today. It's raining, but too bad it's not snowing. The field isn't covered with ice, so I'm pretty pumped about that. Had an awesome week of training. My legs are absolutely exhausted, as usual. I feel like my legs are always tired because as soon as I do the minimum, I feel guilty and I do the maximum when I'm doing stupid stuff. Anyway, as always, if you have a question, please ask in the chat in the side of your screen there, and I'll do my best to answer it. I forgot to put my glasses on. Woo-wee. All right, look at that. Let's turn this a little bit. There we go. All right. David PM. It's probably related to Tylenol. Says, hello, Jim. How do you consider jumping rope hard or easy conditioning? How many times would you do it a week? Any advice you can give me? All right. So I'm a huge fan of jumping rope. I did it a lot when I was, obviously when you're a kid, you do it in gym class, but as part of my training when I was in high school and college. Now, I always used the jump rope as my warm-up. I didn't do it as part of like a conditioning session. So it might be, and I still have done it, you know, as I've gotten older. So when I do it as a warm-up, it is part of maybe 3 or 4 things that I just kind of circuit. So for example, you might do some hurdle duck unders, do 100 jump ropes, do some mace swings, and then a hip flexor stretch or something. So I don't really use it as conditioning. But if I were going to have someone use it, again, I wouldn't do it as a standalone. I would do it. It's perfect for the wintertime. Is do it. So you do your warm up main lift, and then you would do a circuit similar to like a Walrus circuit, or you can just choose whatever assistance you usually do. And doing your assistance as a circuit, and so let's say you're doing 3 movements, and the 4th movement in your assistance circuit would be jumping rope. I would probably do. I would base my rounds based on how much assistance I need to do. So for example, maybe do 5 rounds of 3 assistance movements, and then you add a 4th in, which would be jump rope. So I don't know if that's hard or easy. I guess technically it's hard because it is you're pairing it with assistance work. My big issue that I had, not just with me, but people I worked with, when we really pushed the jump rope by itself, we always had issues with shin splints. Now that might be a programming problem, but we always worked up and start light, progress slow. We've been doing that for a long time, or I've been doing that for a long time. So my advice, David, would be use it as part of a warm-up circuit, or use it as assistance as part of your assistance circuit. So how it's classified, I guess, as a warm-up, it's whatever it is. I don't know if I wouldn't count it as conditioning, but if you pair it with your assistance work, it would technically be, I guess, hard. So anyway, good luck though, man. I loved using the jump rope. I had a jump rope, the same beaded jump rope, for probably 15 years, 20 years, and I got lost it in the move. I moved, and like everyone who's moved, you ends up losing stuff. And man, did I lose some stuff in moves. It stinks. All right, here we go. Scally says, good morning, Jim. How would you plan a strength and conditioning program for going on a backpacking hunt in the Rocky Mountains? For context, we would be hiking in several miles in rugged terrain and possibly hiking out with 120 pounds, assuming we are successful. Okay. What would be your recommendations for templates and conditioning for this type of training? All right, this is interesting. So Scally, the one thing you have to understand is I have to kind of see who I'm working with. As an example, if it was just me, I really wouldn't do too much strength training because I'm fairly strong and I don't need that. Now, if you have someone who is very well conditioned but very weak, we would probably do more strength training. So a couple things I would probably do. One, I would probably do 1 day a week of like a weight vest walk. And that would be fairly, I'm not saying intensive, but might be 2 hours or something like that. That'd probably be 1 day a week. I would probably do 2 days a week of Airdyne bike because it's all concentric. I have found that the hiking up or stairs, stadiums, hills, the bike is a great way of training your legs for that. Since it very much mirrors walking up. The other thing I would probably do is find if you have access to stairs or hills, I would probably put on a weight vest. Doesn't have to be 120 pounds, could just be 20 pounds, and do those maybe once or twice a week. Now for the actual lifting, so let's just break that down again. 2 days of bike, and that can be on days you lift too. And it might be 20 to 45 minutes or something on the bike. You have to kind of condition your taint for Airdyne stuff. 1 day of just a plain walk with a weight vest on. Again, I don't think you should use 120 pounds because I think that starts to wear on your body. Let your strength kind of take over when you're actually out there and not break your body down. 1 or 2 days a week, depending, hiking up if you have access to stairs or hills. If you don't have access to stairs or hills, what I would do is I would get I'm going to guess like a 15 to 20 inch box, put on a weight vest and do 200 to 300 step-ups per leg. And that can be done on your lifting days too, but I think that's an awesome way of doing it. Similar to I think they call it the Chad 1000. You can look that up. Again, you don't, if the weight vest is a little cumbersome and heavy at the beginning, just go with no vest on, no weight. In my strength training, honestly, I would probably do 2 days a week. I would, with all that leg heavy stuff, I would probably not squat. I would probably trap bar deadlift or deadlift to build up the strength in the back. I wouldn't go crazy trying to max out, but I would really build up that backside. And 1 day a week would be bench or press. You know, you still need to be strong in your upper body. My assistance on those days would probably be full body. On the day I benched, I would probably do some type of squatting movement, like a dumbbell squat, something like that. I don't think you need to go crazy with that. And I'd also make sure you're doing rows and pull-ups and shrugs and stuff like that to build up your back. And then obviously you got to do some abdominal work. So 2 days of lifting, and the other days would be peppered with the conditioning and stuff like that. So just make sure your back is strong and your abs are strong, like we're talking about lifting strong, and then just develop your conditioning, because that's 120 pounds is no joke, man. And and you know, if you're hunting, I don't know if you have to carry out your kill, how long that's going to be. I hope I'm making Scally. I hope I didn't make it too confusing. I think that's an awesome endeavor. You know, the one thing I probably wouldn't do, Scally, is I wouldn't, especially in the beginning, do some crazy, like insane conditioning stuff all the time. I think you need to keep the strength, and then let the stadium hills, the step ups and stuff kind of be your conditioning. I don't think you need to break yourself down before you're actually going to break yourself down into hunting. So it's the same concept of training for athletes. The training shouldn't break the kids down and they just feel like crap. The kids need to be able to be challenged, but they need to be able to perform too. There's a big difference with that. So be careful about doing too many stupid, like crazy dumb circuit things where everyone's dying and stuff. Doesn't mean doesn't mean you don't do them every once in a while, but that should not be the mainstay of your program. All right. The other thing too is I would probably do, and if you have access to a heart rate monitor, try to keep around zone 2 conditioning. I have found personally, and this is not me breaking any new ground, your conditioning skyrockets for anything that you do as your zone 2 conditioning is kicking ass. So with the bike, that's what I would probably recommend. And you'd be surprised if you're in fairly good shape how easy zone 2 conditioning is and you feel like you're not doing anything, but it carries over. Again, for that, I'd probably recommend, I'd say 20 minutes, really probably not going to help you much, but maybe 30 to 45 minutes. So I hope that helps, man. Good luck. Stay safe. Dress warm. Enjoy smelling like outdoors BO. Everyone knows what that is. If you spend any time outside for a long period of time, you have like outside BO. It's a weird thing. And make sure you bring a change of socks. I can't emphasize that enough. And make sure you wear in your shoes too. I'm sure you know all this, man. But good luck, man. Hope you get a good kill. in the Rocky Mountains. I don't know if you're hunting elk or something like that. So, all right, here we go. Good luck, bud. Barrett says, best bicep work without isolated bicep work. Typically, when I try to do isolation work, my recovery stinks. Okay, that's interesting. Best bicep work. All right, so I think the most obvious thing would be chin-ups with the palms. I think that's palms facing you. But I think any kind of pull-up or neutral grip or supinated grip, I think works the best by far. The other thing I think really smoked my biceps quite a bit would use a trap bar and pick up the trap bar, stand up, and then just row it like this. All right, you like that motion? All right, it absolutely smokes your shoulders and your traps, but for whatever reason, I feel a ton in my biceps too. So those two things, obviously rows too. But I think the pull-ups, chin-ups, all that stuff, and I think we call them Kirk rows or drag rows with the trap bar are awesome. Heavyweight says, shake a leg, Jim. Let's get it started. I did start at 10 a.m. Thank you very much. So, but thank you for your donation to the Jim Wendler thong, my thong budget. I always wear a thong, dude. A T-bar, nothing better than a dude wearing a T-bar. I still remember I was at a powerlifting meet one time, and I was sitting in the stands, just hanging out before my flight was called, and I saw some dude leaning over, and his shirt was riding up a big old T-bar. Interesting. As you don't see a lot of T-bars on dudes at powerlifting meets, in case anyone's curious. Barrett says, okay. I am trying to take, okay. So Barrett says, what are some good, what the hell? I'm sorry. What are some good back movements that don't involve the biceps so I can do that for the intern while they recover? I guess like that thing, I don't know, you have like a cable machine and you just pull it down like this, straight arm pull downs or something like that. And I think you could do like dumbbell pullovers. Those work pretty well too. So give it a shot. I don't know why you can't do I don't know, maybe you have trouble recovering with your biceps. I think that's what it is. But anyway, good luck, man. Try those two movements. I don't do a lot of, obviously, look at my arms. My arms are horrible. I don't do a lot of bicep movements. All right, here we go. Heavyweight says, I'm looking slim and healthy like grilled cheese off the radiator. All right, best Kegel protocol. Oh, my God. Kegels were like all hot for a while, weren't they? You got to hold it and 15 quick squeezes, then one long squeeze. I don't know. Just drink a ton of water and then hold in your pee for like an hour. There you go. That's the best Kegel protocol. Oh, my God. God, dude, remember, I don't know if they still have those. I haven't seen magazines. Obviously the magazines have been very limited since the digital age. But, man, Cosmo had all those stupid articles. How to please a man. Who the fuck were they talking to? Just get the business, ladies. I don't need a feather on my armpit. And don't put a knuckle up my anus. All right. All right. Jonathan Dado says, hi, Jim. I'm 37 with a physical warehouse job. I do around 20,000 steps in a shift, and my lower back and shoulders can get beat up. Struggling to find a way to stay consistent with my training. So I probably referenced this about a billion times. So, Jonathan, what I would probably do if I were you is I would, one is read my article called Training for Busy and Inconsistent Men or something like that. Read that article. It's on my webpage, jimwendler.com. Read that. The other thing is with your lower back and your shoulders, you might have to, I'm sure you're going to, leave out certain lifts that maybe really stress those areas or aggravate those areas. So, for example, the straight bar deadlift, I'm just giving you an example, so all you deadlift turds don't get all crazy. Maybe the straight bar deadlift is not good for you, okay? Maybe you have to only squat, or maybe you can do the trap bar. With your shoulders beat up, maybe bench press aggravates it and overhead press doesn't. All right. The other thing you can do, just so you know, and I would probably, Jonathan, I would probably say, listen, non-negotiable, I got to lift twice a week. One day's, an upper body main lift and one day's a lower body main lift, and then just do whatever you want for assistance. The other thing is, and I had to do this, and a lot of guys my age and kind of my background had to do this. You're going to have to take a different look at how you train. As an example, I can't squat or deadlift. I mean, I did some safety bar squats with one of the kids I work with the other day, and it just hurt so bad I couldn't even believe it. I did like 185 and I felt like dog shit. So I had to kind of reinvent how I looked at training. And so for me, I had to do a lot of single leg stuff, a lot of weight vest stuff, a lot of climbing stairs and stuff like that. And it allowed me to train very hard without saying my back and my shoulders are beat up is like, saying Godzilla was big. They are really beat up. So I had to find a way around it. And once I kind of accepted my situation, which really didn't take that long because I don't like to be in too much pain all the time, I was super enthused about training. And when you're super enthused and you give more effort and you're more consistent. So I would probably take a look at that. The other thing that you can do for your lower body, if you have access to like a prowler or sled or running or climbing stairs or hills, absolutely unbelievable stress on the legs, but it really is easy on your body, believe it or not, especially the stadiums and the prowler, obviously the sled too, absolutely kill you and doesn't leave you sore, and it doesn't stress your lower back very much at all. So give it a shot, Jonathan. But man, just you don't have to like either commit to 5 days a week or nothing at all. Just say, I'm going to train twice a week and I'm just going to be non-negotiable about that for 30 days. So give yourself 30 days, figure out what you can and can't do, and then accept your situation, man. All right. You're 37 years old. You're walking around. 20,000 steps is no joke. And you're probably lifting shit and doing all kinds of different stuff. All right. You're not 20 years old sitting around doing nothing. So you're most of us have to adjust our training around our lives. All right. We'd like to think that we're all Olympic athletes or 16 years old, but it doesn't work like that. So adjust your training and then accept it and just beat the shit out of it. All right. All right. Scally, thank you very much, man. Good luck. Good luck. Aim for the lungs. Aim for the flat top. Anyone know what movie that's from? My favorite movie of all time, bar none. Aim for the flat top. All right, Jimbo Slice. Sorry to hear about your brother. I know he passed away. God, it's been a while since he passed away, isn't it? All right, here we go. I'm talking about Kimbo Slice, obviously. If you have room for one in a gym, would you choose a glute ham or a back extension machine? If I had to choose, I guess it depends on where I was in my life. But if I just regular dude just wanting to be strong, I would probably choose a glute ham raise with the middle part partitioned out so your nuts don't get smashed. I think because you can still do back extensions on there, obviously, but you have the option of doing glute ham raises. So, but with I have a 45-degree back raise in my gym. And it's one of the big professional ones from Elite FTS. And occasionally I lift up the back end, so it's just regular back raises. And the other thing you can do is you can do Nordic curls on those. Just put your knees on the pad and just do Nordic curls. And if you're not very good at them, you just set it at the regular 45 degree. And that's a good way of doing Nordic leg curls and making them easier. So you can obviously rotate the back end up and make them harder. So, but I would probably choose a good glute ham raise with, again, the nut bridge. So your sack doesn't get smashed and your dong doesn't get crushed. Oh my God. Oh, here we go. Caleb Solers. Bro Heimowitz says, is multiple variations of the row okay throughout the assistance workouts? 1,000%. 1,000%. I think we did, obviously did barbell rows, dumbbell rows, bent over dumbbell, two arm rows. Obviously did a ton of hammer work. The hammer row machine that we had at UK, that was always like if we don't want to work too hard and stress our body, we just load the shit out of it. Obviously you work hard, but it's very easy on your body. And then you obviously have like the low machine row and stuff like that. And I'm sure there's a bunch of other different row things. So yes, without a doubt. Okay. He also says a quick question on working grip. Mine definitely took a hit during recovery. I do farmer carries and static holds, but not getting much out of these, it seems. Caleb, if I were you, the one thing that really, really, really helped my grip was the single arm dumbbell row and doing them for incredibly high reps. So we call those croc rows. So for example, I don't just set a goal, Caleb. I think you probably weigh around 205 or something right now in that area. Set a goal that you want to row 100-pound dumbbell, so half your body weight. The goal is to get at least 20 reps. Then the next goal is 35, and the next goal is 50 reps. This is in one set. All right. So if I were you, one day a week, I would do maybe 2 or 3 sets of high rep dumbbell rows. The first set, let's just say you're going to do a 70-pound dumbbell for as many reps as you can. So grab a 50, do a set of 10 on each arm, grab a 75 and say, listen, I'm going to get as many absolute reps as I can. Reps might get a little sloppy, but I'm going to go until basically my hand gives out. Take a break, because we're going to have to take a break. Obviously do your weakest arm first and then match that with your stronger arm. That 1000% helped my grip more than anything I've ever done. And I did all the grippers and the pinch stuff and the double overhand grip stuff like that. But it was the single arm dumbbell row done for high reps. So as an example, when I first started doing these, I worked up. My left hand has my left 2 fingers here have a nerve damage. And so I had a horrible time holding on to stuff. And so what I did was I just trained as hard as I could. And I did a test day. And I think I did a 150-pound dumbbell with my left hand for like 9 reps. This was probably 15 years ago. And then I set out for like 2 months of that's all I did for my back work was just tons of high rep rows and just doing whatever I could. Just did stupid workouts, a lot of reps. I came back and I hit, I believe, the 150 for like 33 reps. And I also did a 200-pound dumbbell for 5. And this is obviously without straps. So I am a huge fan of doing the high rep dumbbell rows. I think it does more than just work your grip. I think it builds your back and all your traps like an absolute animal. But it's important that you do them, that you don't do them, like some girl on TikTok. All right, fucking row that thing with some attitude. There's a video of me doing croc rows on the internet. I think it's 225 for, I don't know how many reps, 20 reps or something like that. Give you a little idea what the technique is. And I can tell you, if you do those things right, and once you get super strong, you will be sore in every area of your body if you do them like that. So it is more than just a grip and lat developer. It is a total body, backside of the body developer. So give it a shot, Caleb. And I don't know if you want to stop by. I don't know if I'm sure you know where I live, but if you want to stop by, let me know, or just contact me through Instagram or something like that, and we can set up a time and I can go over some of this shit with you. So, Joe King says, what would you recommend for a simple weight loss template? I think most of us, if I were you, I would keep the training max probably around 80 to 85%, and I wouldn't change that at all. Just that's what your numbers are. I would either, for the main lifts, I would probably cap the sets at 10 to 15. So some days you may only do, have a really bad day. You might do 5s pro, but if you want to go up a little bit, that's fine. So the training max remains the same, about 80 to 85%. On my assistance work, I would probably do a full body circuit style assistance. So that'd be, upper body push, upper body pull, and something for your legs or your abs in a circuit. I would probably go, again, I don't know what your general physical preparedness is, maybe 5 or 10 rounds. But I would probably do that 3 times a week, if I'm going to be honest. And I would the rest of Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, I would, if I was going to really want to lose weight, 3 of those days, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, would be very easy zone 2 for like 45 minutes. And then one of those days, if I felt like it, like on Sunday, if I wanted to do something stupid like the prowler or something like that, I would do it because you're obviously going to be cutting calories, and you can't just cut calories and then increase your physical expenditure at the same time. You can, but you end up losing a ton of strength. You end up getting worn out, and you end up getting tired. So keep the strength solid, and don't do too much physical stuff. I mean, you're all obviously doing a lot, but don't just go fucking crazy on the physical stuff while you cut the calories. You're going to be in for a rude awakening. So that's what I would probably recommend. And then 1 main lift a day, obviously. And so you do a 9-day rotation. Scott Tukey says, is a triumvirate still a relevant template? Yep, that's what we do with the football team. 1 main lift, usually 2 assistance lifts, or we do, you can, so for example, Scott, if we squat, our assistance will be upper body push, upper body pull. When we bench, we do something for the lower body and then something upper body pull. Super easy, super simple, 100%. 100%. Our kids get very strong. Our kids do a great job. You don't need to do a ton. You just need to do things right and do it right all the time. I can't stress that enough, Scott. So is volume important? Yes, it is. But I think people, you know, if they're going to do 1,000,000 reps, they don't do a lot of good reps. They don't push things to failure. They don't work very hard. I think effort is still very important. And I also think, like most people, need to train hard. They don't need to train till their noses fall off or anything like that. But you still got to recover. And the older you get, recovery is super important. That's not, and especially if you're not taking anything, you know what I'm talking about? The good stuff. Creatine. My favorite thing is, dude, I'm so natural. Dude, I don't even take protein. You don't take protein. Sounds like you take a lot of protein, dude. Anyway, so Scott, yes. So I'll give you an example. This is one of my friends. He squatted. This is, I still remember this to this day. My buddy would squat. He said he squatted 700 raw. His heaviest lift he used to squat 700 raw in a meet was 385. He'd always push his set. And then he would do, on the days he'd squat or deadlift, he would do dips and pull-ups, and that was it. So he would attach a 45-pound plate and just alternate between dips and pull-ups for 100 reps of both. So if you don't think that's not going to put some beef on you, doesn't mean that's the only thing you do, then you're in for a rude awakening, man. So just don't discount working hard. All right. Dear Man says, hey, Jim, do you think there is a strength level for athletes where the returns level off? Is it worth it to get much stronger past a certain point? The answer is, okay, so let's answer the question. Do you think there is a strength level for athletes when the returns level off? 1,000%. Yes. Do many people get there? No. If I was going to be honest, there's probably, now granted, I didn't work with a lot of freaks. I mean, I'm 1,000%. I made a post on this on the forum. I just want to work with average dudes who want to be awesome. I have no time for the freaks, just because it doesn't matter what you do with them. They're just going to be freaks. I know no one wants to hear that. It doesn't mean that training is not important for them, but like they're going to be fast regardless of what you do. They're going to be strong regardless of what you do. And if you think I'm wrong, watch some of these guys train. It's fucking horrible. All right. That doesn't mean they're all horrible, but I've watched a lot of insane football players train, and I was like, oh my God, it's so bad. I would not even give my youngest son this. And it doesn't matter. They still perform on the field. So I'd say I'd probably have to think about this, at least when I was coaching, not when I was playing. There's probably 2 or 3 kids when I was playing or when I was coaching that, like, they were squatting well over 700, benching 500. Like, what's the point? They don't really need to do that much. And it always made me nervous when they're squatting, 685 for 8 reps. And, they don't have the greatest technique all the time because they're not professional lifters. They're just super strong. So yeah, listen, an athlete's got to do a lot of stuff. And if they're constantly trying to take their squat from like 750 to 850, it's not going to make them any better on the field, And just for an example, one of the kids that I'm referencing here, he ran a 4.68 40. I don't know if that was at the combine or if that was at a pro day, and he weighed like 310 or something like that. He's a first round draft pick. So I watched him incline press 405 for reps. It was comical. He dynamic inclined it, so he would just drop it, catch it. Yep. There's people like that out there who don't even really train that hard. Absolutely insane. All right, here we go. JoJo reference. All right. Right. I have a weird problem. Even though I have a long torso, the bar goes above my dong. When I deadlift, it's still my biggest lift. I can deadlift almost 2 times my squat. Any advice on how to get better squat? All right. You ready for this? There's 2 things I think most people, well, there's a lot of things, but one is you got to have to gain some weight, buddy. I don't know how big you are, but if you are, over 6 feet and you're not built to squat, the number one thing, it's the same thing with the bench press, is you gotta gain weight. And that's not always the best thing, because if you gain it, you may have to gain 50 pounds. And that's just the way it goes. No one wants to hear that. Everyone thinks that there's some secret exercise out there. And there really isn't. The bigger you are, the more, how do I put this? For the squat and the deadlift, if you're not built, squat and the bench. For the squat and the bench, if you're not built to do those lifts and you're kind of long and lean, so to speak, you got to gain some weight. And the problem is you may gain 75 pounds over a couple of years, and maybe your squat doesn't really increase that much, but that's kind of how it goes. The number 2 thing is make sure that your bar position and your stance and all that is tailored for how you squat. So you may have to screw with that. Number 3 is, and I see this all the time, is you have to strengthen your your entire back, especially your low back, and you have to strengthen your abs. I always see that with super long leg kind of lifters, and everything's kind of weird, and we're just not built to squat because they end up folding way too much. And so a lot of times their legs, so to speak, they can squat the weight up, but they're all folding over and it looks horrible. So what we did is I just lower the weight and make sure they learn how to do the exercise correctly, even though it might be somewhat easy. And then we just bomb the abs and low back and just let it build up over time. So your deadlift is almost 2 times my squat. Yeah, listen, there's a lot of people like that, man. I am all for changing and getting better and stuff like that, but we all hit with genetic limitations. And I'm not saying, just quit. I'm saying if I were you, man, I would lower the weight on the squat. If you feel like your technique's bad, I would keep on pounding it. And personally, man, I would just exploit my strengths. I would raise my deadlift up, kick some ass, and just have some fun, put on some muscle, and then keep on working on your squat. Wherever it happens, man, wherever it ends up being, that's where it is. All right. I don't think the lifts need to be proportionate. I think that's one of the biggest crocs of shit that I hear people say. So, dude, if I were you, I wouldn't brag about my squat. I'd brag about my deadlift. I wouldn't lament about my squat. I'd brag about my deadlift. All right. That's like Michael Jordan probably wasn't the greatest squatter in the world, but do you think he cared? I mean, he was an awesome basketball player. So anyway. All right. Chessie Channel says, hey, Jim, is it okay to do the recommended 50 reps of pull, push, and core, then add biceps curl at the end of the workout, even though it crosses the limit? 1,000%, man. 1,000%. Yeah. Dude, just pump up the arms. It doesn't matter. And if, listen, I tell the kids 50 reps is minimum, but it would be really nice if you do 1 million. I think 1 million reps would probably be better. And it's being facetious, but you don't, those are guidelines. Just go ahead, do 3 to 4 sets or 2 sets of bicep curls. Just get a huge pump and do occasionally do a very lightweight, do high, super high reps and go to hell. That's why I like to say everyone's got to find the devil when they do the assistance work, and then occasionally do some heavier stuff. Have some fun. Makes Mother Teresa look like Seth Putnam. Oh my God. I'm telling you, I love funny song titles, and some of the hardcore bands kind of took it to an extreme. I thought it got kind of obnoxious in some of the what's that style of music? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But there was a band, oh my God, called Total Fucking Destruction. Those of you, I'm sure, are familiar with that band know it's the same drummer as Brutal Truth. Anyway, in Total Fucking Destruction, they have a song title. Let's see if I don't screw this up. It says, Seth Putnam was wrong about a lot of things, but Seth Putnam was right about you. And I always love that song title. For those that don't know, Seth Putnam was a singer for a grind band called Anal Cunt. That's the name of the band. And they were one of the most, you talk about funny song titles. It's just absolute noise and insanity. And he was a very controversial performer, to say the least. I would not want to go. I would go to Seth Putnam when I was like 20. I would not see him when I was 40. Let's just put it that way. I don't need to experience that when I'm older. So. Heavyweight says, hey, Jim, I read on the forum you did a podcast recently. It was the State of the Union post. Okay. Can you drop what podcast you're speaking about so I go listen to it? Yeah. I'd have to remember. I apologize. I don't remember a lot of this stuff. I do a lot of these podcasts. I like doing them. So if you have a training podcast or something similar, I'd be more than willing to do it. If you do want to have me on, so I can wax poetically, contact my wife, Juliet, at wendlerstore@gmail.com. She handles all the schedules and stuff like that. So we can all get on the same page. All right. So yeah, I'll see if I can remember that heavyweight. I apologize. I'm doing one this Tuesday also with Kyle Hunt. So I believe I've worked with him before. So there you go. Caleb LeBlanc says, did you hear that Acid Bath is back together? So I heard that. I don't know if I believe it. I don't know if Dax Riggs is going to be singing. I find that very hard to believe, but maybe he is. So that rumor has been going around for like 15 years. So I hope they do get back together, especially if Dax is singing. I think all those guys are important in the band. Obviously Audie's not going to be there, but yeah, I still remember the first time I heard Acid Bath. I was absolutely blown away. Couldn't believe it. And what's crazy is if you watch old videos of them playing live, Dax can pull all those vocals off. Just incredibly gifted singer and songwriter. Oh my God. What was that song he did with Stop, I'm Already Dead? If you actually listen to that song, the lyrics, the vocal phrasing is amazing. He plays 2 chords in that song. Unbelievable. Anyway, but that's obviously not Acid Bath, so. Taylor Scholl says there's a death metal band out of South Carolina called Nile, and he talks about their song titles. They're like, quote, Chapter 4, Not Being Hung Upside Down, and Made to Eat Feces by the 4 Apes. Yeah, I still remember I got their album in college, the Amongst the Tombs of Nephron Ka or something like that. Unbelievable musicians, man. What's that song they always oh my God, they all chant at the end there. I can't remember the name of the song. The Black. Anyway. Caleb Long says, I live in Louisiana and they have 2 sold-out shows in NOLA. Wow. Well, good for them, man. I hope they pull it off. I hope nothing bad happens, that they actually have their shit together. Sammy Pierre said, yeah, Black Seeds of Vengeance. There we go. Black Seeds of Vengeance. All right. Boy, I'm really boring everyone today that isn't into heavy metal. Okay. The magic of David Scott Willis says, have you ever trained athletes with disabilities? I recently started coaching Special Olympics powerlifting and worry about coaching the big three to a group with various physical disabilities. I've only coached kids with autism, and it's been very difficult because there's 60 kids in the group, and they're not like, if you're going to coach kids with any kind of disabilities, you got to have small groups. It's too chaotic without that. So that'd be my number one thing. If you want to contact anyone, I assume your name is David. Contact, if you can, get hold of Vincent DeCenzo. I know he's done a lot of stuff with the Special Olympics. The one thing I would probably do if I were you, because I've watched the Special Olympics before in the powerlifting, is just make sure that the loading is correct, because a lot of times, and this is no fault of the lifter, they end up loading them way too heavy and the technique goes out the window, and I just feel like they're going to get hurt. And maybe I'm being old man winter about this shit, but I just breaks. I don't like to see anyone loaded with weight that they can't do. And it just, you see it in high school all the time. You see it in college all the time. So I don't have any advice really, other than you're going to have to be a really good coach, because you're going to have to find the cues that, and this works with any athlete, they're going to have to really find cues that they can understand. And again, is not different than any other athlete, but I think that's going to be your real big challenge. But keep everything in small groups and just really teach them the lifts. And the other thing is, if you need to strengthen their bodies outside of the 3 lifts, I would do that. So for example, what we do with young athletes is, if they don't squat very well, we find ways to strengthen their legs, without having a technique oriented lift. So the leg press is perfect. If they can push and pull a sled, that's perfect. Machine stuff is perfect. So just developing general strength while they learn how to do the lifts. That's what I would probably do if I were you. And this works for anyone, really. If they don't have the ability to squat to strengthen their legs, like they really struggle with the technique, find what I call dumb ways of getting them strong while you teach them the technique. That way they can actually challenge their bodies, build some muscle, and then that will allow them, hopefully, to do the lifts correctly. So good luck, buddy. Good luck. It's going to be incredibly rewarding and incredibly frustrating. That's any coaching like that, really. All right, here we go. The Iron Island. Are you based in New York there? The old Iron Island gym. Is that even still around? I don't know if it still is. Says, Jim, I've done Walrus in the past and loved it, but did lose some muscle despite diet being locked in. Any changes to Walrus to keep as much muscle as possible? I've been training almost 30 years and loved the Walrus. I used to train at Iron Island. There you go. Well, this is, I've made this very clear. The Walrus training is not going to turn you into bodybuilder. You will gain muscle and strength if you don't have a good base. But if you're like you have been training for 30 years and you've done a lot of barbell work, it's not the same. It just not is. And that's kind of how it's designed to be. It's designed to give your body a break, and there's going to be good things that come out of that, and there's going to be bad things that come out of that. So with that in mind, I think you can do, I'm not sure what your training schedule is, but maybe keep in one big upper body lift, for example, the bench or the press, and one big lower body lift, the squat or the trap bar or the deadlift, and keep those heavy. But I would probably go no heavier than 80 to 85% training max, somewhere in there. You can go lower if you want. And just to maintain some of that strength, I think you'll maintain some of that muscle mass. And you can choose to do any set rep combination you want, but I probably would not do those lifts in such a way that your recovery and you feel crappy. So you may have to do lighter, but even if you're doing, very kind of light, easy weights, just doing those lifts and doing them correctly will probably maintain some of that muscle. The only other thing I could think is, wearing a heavier weight vest And so maybe you might do your basic Walrus workout and then putting on a heavier vest and just bombing one of the movements. So for example, you put on a 20-pound vest or something, you do your 150, 150, and then you put on a 55-pound vest and do 50 pull-ups. All right. Or just, I don't know. And then maybe one day you put on that 55-pound vest and do as many push-ups as you can in 10 minutes. And then you put on the heavy vest and do walking lunges or just a boatload of squats. Now, I don't think it's going to be the same thing as loading a barbell, but that might be something you can do. I've done that in the past. So you just do your regular workout, put on a heavier vest, give yourself 10 to 15 minutes and bomb just one kind of movement. Usually, obviously you can do dips, push-ups, lunges, squats, chin-ups, pull-ups, stuff like that. The other thing you might want to do too, Iron Island, who I see you used to train at Iron Island, would be to do some kind of standalone row training too for your upper back and lats. I think that will do. I still do that occasionally. So I've done them in the circuit, the rows, but I think you could also do standalone rows, and you only need to do 2 or 3 hard sets and you'd be good to go. So Tom Bryan says you can build muscle with Walrus. Instead of doing 10 rounds, drop the rounds to 5 and increase the reps, or use 5 rounds with a heavier vest. There's lots of ways to go about it. You're right. There's ways to do it. But listen, there's nothing's going to replicate the vest work when you're pulling, 500 for 8 reps or something like that. It's just not, it's just not, it's hard to do. So, and I never claimed that shit was going to make you, into a world-class powerlifter. It just doesn't. It's not supposed to. All right. David Scott says, great advice. David Scott was working with the Special Olympics. He says, I've only been working with them for about 6 weeks. The state meet is next month. I'm looking forward to having another year with them to build more strength and technique. Yes. Listen, 6 weeks is not a lot of time for anyone. So good on you. Just be smart about their attempts and stuff like that. But if you give a full year where they're training consistently, and even if it's just twice a week, man, it's going to be a night and day difference. Night and day difference. So good luck, man. You're doing the Lord's work. Oh my God. All right. We have run out of questions here. It is 10:47 though. I have not trained yet today. I'll be honest. I don't know. I always say, I don't think I'm going to train. And then I hop off this live stream and I go fucking nuts and do something stupid. So it's the curse. I'm the worst coach for myself in the world. Okay. Kirk Eichenberg says, I've been running for 6 months now. Congratulations. Training for my first 10K at the end of March. 10K is what, 6.2? I've been powerlifting for the past 10 years. I'm 36 and 220 pounds at 5'9". How would you set a program? End of March. Well, I don't know if Kirk, if it was me, I wouldn't give a shit about my lifting. I would still probably lift because I need to do it. But my only goal, keep the goal the goal. So if I were you, I would try to lose some weight. I'm not saying you're fat, so don't get all weird on me. Try to lose some weight. I would still lift twice a week. But my main focus would be on my running, and not just the running, but my just overall condition. And so one of the things I would do is, unless you have perfect knees and hips and stuff like that, I would probably do maybe 2 days of some kind of alternate conditioning. The bike or swimming would be great. It's not the biking would be a little more specific, obviously not sport specific, but enough that you get something out of it. But if that was me, lift twice a week, one main lift a day, bench and squat or something, or bench and trap bar, or bench and deadlift, fill in the rest with some assistance work, try to keep some upper body muscle on. I would not do a lot of lower body work. I'll be completely honest. You get enough pounding and, you're 36 years old and you've been powerlifting for 10 years. You can take off until March of doing a lot of lower body stuff. I would probably cut the reps on the lower body movement. I'd probably do no more than 5, and I would do that at a very light weight. So I probably wouldn't go past maybe 75%, 70%, maybe do a set of 5 there. So just enough to kind of tap into some heavier stuff. But Tom or Kirk, sorry, the number one thing, and I know what you're going through because I've been there. Don't worry about your lifts. Who cares? Worry about the 10K. If I were you, and I don't know where you are right now with the running, if you just want to survive the 10K, but that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I still think the same rules apply, but man, really push to do awesome at that. Just like if you're doing a powerlifting meet, you wouldn't be out running all the time, would you? And expect to do really well at the powerlifting meet. So take that same mentality and attack it. So good luck, Kirk. That's no joke. 10K is a long way. It's a long way. Anyway, man, I ran, what was it, last Friday? I did 50s with one of the kids on the team. Not good. Not good. Tom Bryan says, I think most average dudes will be more than happy with a walrus body. I think most men grow out of wanting to look big once they hit around 30. Yeah, everyone's going to have different kind of goals and stuff like that. I don't know. I still think if you can barbell lift, man, fucking barbell lift. It's super efficient. I think it's super fun to do, obviously. Like my entire life has been basically training and lifting weights. So, but just understand there's always going to be a compromise no matter what you do. All right. Nothing's going to be perfect. The Iron Island says, hey, thanks, Jim. I'm a former powerlifter and just doing bodybuilding training, but bored. That's the one thing. Like a lot of powerlifters I know, they always say, well, I'm just going to do some bodybuilding work. And they always get bored to hell. I get it. Just looking to keep the muscle I have while running Walrus. I'm 260 and 42 years old. All right, good for you. Listen, the Iron Island, I'm going to ask you a question. I need you to answer. Ask me. I will ask you this and then answer. How honest do you want me to be with you? So answer here, and then I'll wax on a little bit. Bill Coyne says, you mentioned on a podcast with Dave Tate that you coached a kid through the old Nebraska metabolic circuit. I did I worked with 2 kids with that. How did that go? Absolutely awesome. Awesome. I had to work out a lot of kinks, but I did it. Is it a program you'd use with a group of athletes? No. Unless you have a giant weight room and about 10 coaches that know exactly how to make all the adjustments and stuff like that. No. I think that's a horrible idea. You could do it, but you would not do it well. It would be horrible. But yes, I did it in a one-on-one situation with 2 different kids. I had to modify a lot of it based on what I have in the weight room and then based on just my own training knowledge. Not saying that they didn't know what they were doing, but every weight, no matter what program anyone does, it's always going to be peppered by you, by who you are as a coach. So, yes, loved it. You obviously can't do it for I think we did it for maybe 4 weeks, 5 weeks. But you got to know how to, at least me, with the metabolic circuit stuff, you had to know when to press the gas a little bit and learn to lay off a little bit. So not everything can be at 100% all the time. All right, the Iron Island, 100% honest. All right, buddy, this is what I'm going to tell you. You're 42 years old. You've been powerlifting, stuff like that. You're 260 pounds. I'm going to guess you're not like 6'5". I had to come to this realization too, man. There's not a lot of 250 pound, 75-year-old dudes out there at 5'10" or 6 foot. I don't know if you have a family. All right, you're 6'2", so 260, but still 260 is pretty big at 6'2". Listen, I'm not asking you to become a waif model, but I am telling you, your life will get better when you get a little lighter. And it was a hard pill for me to swallow. I'm still figuring all this shit out too. But you're going to feel infinitely better when you're lower. And I'm going to tell you, I'm 49 years old. The last couple of years, it's tough on the body. All right. All these years of doing shit. It's been tough. And anytime I've now consistently around 215, it's way different than when I was 225. I feel way better. And I assume when I get into the early 50s, I'm going to have to be 205. And but if I were you, Iron Island, I would start now. You don't have to lose 50 pounds in a month. Just start getting your body weight down. And I just think it's good. You're going to feel a million times better. And you probably hate me right now and want to kick me in the dick. But I am telling you, it changed my life. All right. There's a time and place to getting fucking strong and doing stupid stuff and being huge. And there's a time where you still be strong, still be muscular, and still be lean. And still be very physically effective, I should say, in the world. So don't get tied up with, I know a lot of guys lifting weights, especially who have pushed the boundaries, they get tied up with their identity. And I take a step back, and your identity wasn't the weight that you lifted, really, or it wasn't how big you were. It was that you were physically doing something awesome. So change your focus a little bit. That's the big picture. So anyway, I hope that hits the right place, man. So anyway, Heavyweight says, Jim, thank you. As always, I don't have any questions. Training is still going great. Very good. I'm sure in the long run it will stall out. It always does. I don't need some guidance, but just a bittersweet time. Making progress. Don't have anything to ask you. You answered. All right. I appreciate that, Heavyweight. Thank you. Good luck, man. Good luck. Just like, listen, if you're, 30, 35 years old, man, or 20 or whatever the hell, I don't know who listens to this, but if you're young, go out and do all the awesome, dumb things, push your body, do everything. But there's a time and place for most of us, not everyone has to do this, where you're going to have to back off the trying to be, 300 pounds and trying to be Dorian Yates at his prime. All right. Just trust me, your life will get better. Richard Stewart says, hey, Jim, I noticed in your 3 days per week strength training on the second day when you do bench, dumbbell squats, and RDL, there's no direct back work. Why is that? Because I don't remember this. I probably said the RDL was the pulling movement, so to speak. So you're still getting some upper back and lat work in there, even though it's isometric. So if you want to do some direct back work, that's fine. But I think the RDLs took that out. So because we were essentially doing some kind of press, some kind of squat, and then some kind of pull, even though it's not technically an upper body pull. So, but if you want to add something in, man, go do it. No problems with that. Keith Bott says, hey, Jim, is doing hang cleans using Threes Pro as a fifth main lift in between bench day and squat day with a day off after each of the 5 main lifts after each workout? Okay. All right. That's very confusing, Keith. Yeah. Listen, Keith, if you can recover and everything feels solid and your body's recovering and all that stuff, go for it. I'm a huge fan of hang cleans. I like hang cleans way better than power cleans. If I'm going to be completely honest, I was also way better at hang cleans too. So yes, go ahead and do it. And just remember, just be smart, be quick. And if you just keep the bar close. And once that bar is, you push your butt back, get in position, learn how to jump and keep the bar close. Be aggressive, be super aggressive. Jake Newfer says, hey, Jim, looking at outfitting our fire stations with new workout equipment. Our mayor, Joel, just approved us to start looking at new equipment for our stations. What would be the 3 best equipment to add? I don't know like what counts as 3 pieces of equipment, because I would probably put a power rack in there with a 0 to 90 bench. I don't know if you have dumbbells and stuff like that. So, but let's just say, I think the most important things I would do, if I were you, would be power rack with a 0 to 90 bench. And I think you should get a prowler. So I guess technically that's 3 things. I think you get a lot of weight with a lot like that, and just make sure you have dumbbells if you can. Obviously good barbells, good plates, and then get some bands. I think bands can take the place of a lot of cable stuff. Plus, if your guys want to do pull-ups are not strong enough, they can do band assisted pull-ups and stuff like that. You do tricep push downs, You can do low rows, hooking on the bottom of the rack. So those three things, I think, as long as you have dumbbells and barbells and stuff, I think you'd be really, really good to go. So, but that's what I would do. Again, it depends on how you guys want to train and what the guys want too. Listen, it's always nice to have all this equipment, but if no one's going to use it, it doesn't really matter how awesome the equipment is. Tim McCain says, hey, Jim, I've been doing 5-through-1 for one cycle and Prilipin for the cycle. Okay. It's working well for me. I also up my bike riding to 4 times a week. I only lift 2 days a week. I feel pretty good. You're supposed to feel pretty good. I should start taking my own advice. That's awesome, Tim. I hope you're doing good, bud. Very cool. Iron Island. Let's see if he hates me here. He says, thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. I'm married with 2 kids. Health has to come first. I love the conditioning aspect of the Walrus, which I need. Appreciate everything. The other thing, Iron Island, I'm telling you, make sure you do some easy conditioning. The Walrus stuff is obviously awesome, but I get way better at the Walrus stuff when my zone 2 conditioning is up. Way better. Way better. Intersecting Ideas says, Jim, I am doing the OG 5-3-1 with FSR. I assume you meant FSL and boring but big option 2. Is this combo ideal, or do you think it's too much? Yes. So I assume you said you're doing FSL and boring but big. You shouldn't be doing that. Pick one or the other. One or the other. Usually when we're doing boring but big, for the most part, we switch to 5s Pro. And if you're going to do the OG, if you want to do the PR sets, then just switch to 5 sets of 5 at first set last and the assistance. So hope that makes sense. Boring but big, 5 PR sets, 5 sets of 5 at FSL, then do assistance. Best way to do it, super simple. Bill Coyne says, I've been doing the Agile 8. I read a I see what you're seeing here, Bill. I've been doing the Agile 8 to warm up for the training, but wondering if I need something more functional. Should I integrate the Wendler warm up? To be young and stupid again. Yes. Just don't get it in anyone's hair. That's what I would probably say. All right, here we go. Keith Bott says, thanks, Jim. I'm 61 and can't do the clean before the lower body lifts as you suggest in your books. A bit too much now. Listen, Keith, if you can do the hang clean and your body's okay with it, go ahead and do it. The other thing, Keith, is I have found as I've gotten older, listen, you're much older. You're not much older, but man, 61 and 49, that's a big difference. And I know you can understand that. Is I would rather lift more frequently and just real short, simpler workouts as I've gotten older, instead of just bombing myself 3 days a week. And so what I do, Keith, is I do what I call pocket workouts. They're usually about 30 minutes in length. And I know some of those workouts are kind of easy. Some of them are very hard, but I know at 30 minutes, I'm just about where I need to be. And my body feels way, way better, way better. So take that for what it's worth, Keith. So there you go, bud. And also make sure your diet's doing well. Get rid of some of those aches and pains too. Tom Bryant says, are you still considering writing a Walrus book? Yes. Yes. I just got to sit down and do it. It's a lot of work. Going to have to go into that. Listen, the most important thing, I know I echo this, is, man, just be consistent and make sure you're not burning the candle at both ends with the Walrus stuff, because you can do some pretty insane stuff with the weight vest and the body weight stuff. But if you're not conditioned to do it, it's going to kill you. So as an example, when I first started doing the weight vest stuff, I did 5 rounds, and I did 5 rounds for a while. And then I did 10 rounds. And I got really used to that. It was super easy. And it wasn't until things got super easy did I then move on to doing a lot more reps and stuff like that. So if you see someone doing, a Murph a day or something like that, that's awesome. Good for them. But that's not for you. If you can only do 5 rounds, just do 5 rounds a day and take some time. Take 2 months and just get really good at that. Occasionally, maybe you can do some more, but just I hope that makes sense. So just be smart about that. Richard Stewart says, Jim, can I still progress without changing up my exercises, main lifts every 3 weeks? Yes. I think there's, it just depends on what you're doing on the main lifts. So if you're continually maxing out, there's going to be a, like the West Side does with the max effort method. I think there's going to be, you're going to hit a wall. But I also think, the more inexperienced you are, and you can still make a lot of progress. But we don't. I'm not exactly sure what you're asking, but we don't change our main lifts at the school, and we don't change them for a long time. We just change how we do them. We change the sets, we change the reps, change the loading. That's the big thing too. So yes, you'll be fine, man. You'll be fine. All right, it's 11:05. And if anyone has any more questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them, but it's almost time for me to get going here. It is a miserably dark day here in Ohio, as usual. I always like to call it, if Crayola wanted a new color in their 64 crayon box, they can make Columbus gray. Then again, when I grew up in Illinois, it was Illinois gray too. That's the only bad thing about living in the Midwest. There's a lot of crappy dark days in the wintertime and obviously in the spring too. All right, we'll go ahead and get going here. I want to thank everyone for being part of this. I appreciate everyone's questions. It's what makes this tick. Anyone who's supported me, and I think the world of you. You've made my life awesome, so I appreciate that more than you'll ever know. Make sure you take care of your families, take care of yourself, have some fun, go out and eat, have some fun. Not everything has to be a miserable carnivore day. All right. So yes, Scotland, dude, I couldn't even imagine. I went to Keith. Keith writes Scotland is great too. I went to Ireland for like a week, and it was wonderfully lush, green, beautiful, but I did not see the sun one time, and it rained every single day. So I know obviously Scotland's not Ireland, but it's pretty close. So, all right, here's another question here. Wendler, do you recommend doing more grip work to 5-3-1, wrist curls, etc.? If you want to do it, man, knock it out. That's the beauty of this style of training. If you want to do more running, if you want to do more powerlifting, do bodybuilding, you can adjust however you want, and you still get stronger. So there's a lot of flexibility, which can be good and can be bad. And so, yes, if you want to do it. Knock it out, brother. All right. Everyone, do something dumb this weekend. Have some fun. Love you. Appreciate you. Goodbye.